All right, so the last three people that you have in your outline, you've got Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and WellsBarnett. And I put them on there to show, and in the outline it says progressive parameters. And what that means is like the limits of progressive reform. So while we've seen some possibilities of change as a result, sadly, of that Triangle factory fire, those limits we hit those limits when we get to race. So we can see maybe some possibilities of change with class, but when we hit race, that's when we get some limits. And so the Plessy case of 1896, this is the case where a black man was told that he couldn't ride in the first class car. He had to ride in the colored car. And so he challenged it, it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you can have separate railroad cars, they just have to be equal. And so this establishes the precedent of separate but equal. Of course, as you probably know, these railroad cars, these theater houses, schools, everything will be separate. It will never be equal. And so you get the three reformers you have there, Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois, and Ida B. Wells-Barnett. They come up with different ways of challenging this idea of separate but equal. Booker T. Washington says, you know what? The way we'll affect change as black people, he says, is to show our worth to society. And we can do this as being the best that we can be in the job that we have. So, for instance, the key phrase from his document is cast down your bucket where you are. And what he means by that is be the best that you can be where you are. To some people, this seems assimilationist and not realistic. To be fair, he's given his speech in the South, whereas Du Bois and Ida B. Wells-Barnett are up in the North. They, though, argue that what we need to do, or what that black people need to do, is to challenge the laws and to show that the laws are unjust and that the laws contribute to contributing racism. And so what they're going to do is they're going to form the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. They'll be founders, among the founders of this organization. You met Ida B. Wells-Barnett before when we talked about the Chicago World's Fair. She was one of the people that resisted how black people were portrayed at that fair. Which that's also why I included her here. And we spent a little bit more time talking about her in my women's history class. But she and Du Bois will argue that it's through fighting the laws, through getting an education, through getting access to voting, that black people can get rid of this idea of separate but equal. So you've got two documents in your Reading the American Past, one by Washington and one by Du Bois, and I'll set up a discussion board where we can talk about those documents together. All right, thanks.